When I go out, I usually like to sort of take a friend, but usually someone who's got sort of some street smarts about them as well, because it's always good to have the security of a lookout.
I guess there's two types of painting I do. There's painting where I go out to paint, and there's painting I do when I'm out. I'm going to throw some cans of paint and some stencils in my bag, and you know, if I see something that inspires me, I'll throw something up.
I set myself goals, and my goal was to go through 2 tins of paint each night, and I did that for like 2 or 3 months or something.
But as you notice, I've got a van, which makes it relatively easy to get around the city, particularly for doing paste-up runs, for example, wanting to get to more places and carry large amounts of materials like glue and posters. It's much easier to do that sort of thing in the dead of the night when you're less likely to be bothered.
If you really love to draw, for me, it's just about drawing when I'm walking home a lot of the time.
It's something I'll plan and go out and kind of just go on a mission by myself and just kind of go out and do as much as I can when I feel like it. You know, it's not really to do with necessarily so much to do with my mood or whatever. It's more when the time's right.
By using pseudonyms, artists can definitely live a separate life to what maybe they do in their job or at school or with their girlfriend or boyfriend. They can live a complete different reality or a kind of fantasy.
You need to protect yourself, so you make up a name and you feel it kind of represents you in a way. I initially came up with first when just playing around with some letters. It came out of the word curse, and I had spelled it K-E-R-S. Yeah, I changed the K into an F and liked the way it looked, and sometimes I spell it with an I, so it's F-I-R-S, which, you know, it's a type of tree.
The name Prism I sort of messed around and had for a little while from high school, basically, just all that sort of, I got into all that chemistry, sort of scientific stuff, I guess, like with prisms and chemicals and all that kind of stuff, and it's just stuck in my head. And from there, I've just sort of realised and embraced the letters that it has in it.
I got the name Ha Ha from watching The Simpsons. There's a kid on there called Nelson Muntz, and he just goes around going, Ha Ha. One of my mates, graffiti writer called Meow, he goes, hey, you should tag Ha Ha. And I did.
Vexter just kind of, I guess it's like probably an amalgamation of a variety of nicknames that people have given me over the past few years. And I like the idea that it's like to be vexed, like is a kind of active feeling.
It's sort of funny, I sort of stumbled across Civil as a kind of name. I mean, it was like Tom Civil, that was my name, that was my zine name, and it kind of just stuck. It's like, yeah, I'm a civilian, we're all civilians. If you're not in the military or the police, you know, you're a civilian. I also thought of that as like a public art as well as a kind of civil art for the people in a way.
I prefer to be a ghost within society, and yeah, I find that it's more fun that way.
Most of the time it's just spontaneous. It's like, hey, let's go out, let's go bombing. When I do go out, I prefer to go out by myself if I'm doing something big. It's just hard work, but it's satisfying when the job is done. I actually consider myself a bit of a corrupt security guard. Sometimes after work I like to go out and go bombing, so like usually knock off at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, jump down the train lines, might do a piece, go bombing around the area, and Ha Ha's never been chased by security or cops, which is a good thing. But I've got a feeling that one day it may just happen. So I might have to like start exercising or something like that, as I'm very unfit. I'm just trying to like relate to Australian popular culture on the streets, and you know, not kind of like lean towards American popular culture, which is like totally in your face everywhere. Ned Kelly, he was like an Australian outlaw. Everyone knew who he was. And now he's like a legend of Australian history, even though he was an outlaw. And like stenciling, graffiti, the total street thing is like totally illegal, and it's like the same principles apply with Ned Kelly and an aerosol artist. It's got that same element. Perhaps Ha wants to be a hero. We live in a robotic society. We all feel like robots. When we go to work, I hate working. You kind of feel like you're doing this repetitive robotic job kind of thing. And it's quite demeaning, and I hate it. And also, I'm a big fan of science fiction, and I like robots. Then I went for another phase. It was like hitmen with guns. There was just heaps of shit going on. We were just like bombing everywhere. We bombed on this house, and like apparently someone must have been up, and they got into their cars and chased us down the street. I stashed my cans, and we just totally ran. And my friend, he got away, and I turned around, I saw the guy, he was like totally like slowing down. And I thought, oh yeah, cool. And I turned around again, and he was right behind me, and he grabbed me. And then the cops rocked up, and then I had to like spend some bullshit to the cops. They let me go, but they took all my details. Like I'll probably get a court summons in a couple of months or something like that. But the good thing is though, I haven't got a criminal record, so that may work to my advantage. Maybe I might like stop tagging a bit on the streets. Ha is innocent until proven guilty.
With Melbourne being sort of the mecca as far as street art goes, I mean certainly in Australia, but you know, from what I've seen and what I hear pretty much the world around, like, you know, to be able to come in and have other people push my style and me push theirs, you know, it's something you don't get in the fine art world. You know, here are artists that are doing it for reasons outside of sort of fame or pretension, or they're not chasing anything outside of just being able to paint, you know. I think that's a cool thing, just making it about the art for the art, you know. It's just, I mean, it's really just pictures on walls, really.
Melbourne has a rocking street art scene, I think, because there's a really great bunch of artists who are really proactive about putting their stuff out there and inspire and support each other and inspire other people to start doing it. You know, it's just kind of taken on a life of its own and grown and grown and grown, as well as some majority of people would consider them lax councils who don't buff walls.
I think that council is spending less money on removing graffiti because more people are doing it, and that's, I guess, part of the idea is that you slowly gain like critical mass, and then it becomes maybe clear to the council that there are just as many people that like making public artworks as there are that hate it, and I think there are more people that are appreciating it. So they're sort of, maybe they're testing it out. Maybe they're letting it just be for a little while, and then they'll paint all over it again. But there are, you know, those mysterious black crosses that have been put through everything, which I think are the police, but other people have their theories. But they're through everything without bias, so it's not like it's one crew or one group of people going along and saying we hate your stuff. It's someone doing the whole lot.
To say it's now legal to have graffiti, but only in this spot. I mean, graffiti writers could say, well, that takes away a lot of our motivation for actually writing graffiti. I see that as a problem, and that's something that we'll have to face. But at the same time, even in the light of that problem, we need to make a very clear statement that there is zero tolerance of illegal graffiti.
If they tried to do zero tolerance, it just wouldn't happen. Like the culture and the group of people are far too strong and excited. You know, it'd have to be an extended time. They'd have to probably spend, I reckon, 5 to 6 or 7 years like doing zero tolerance, which is stupid amounts of money, really. Yeah, zero tolerance wouldn't last here.
Clearly, zero tolerance also means that where you see graffiti or build posters, you clean it. So see it, clean it.
Well, it's pretty obvious that it's popping up everywhere. We got stenciling, we got tagging, we got sloganeering. It all seems to be moving pretty fast. Obviously, it's it's out of control in that it's informal. No one's regulating it. No one's even informally agreeing how it's to happen. So you could say we have zero tolerance for zero tolerance. Now in other areas, I think, I'm not being critical of any other council, but in other areas they've gone for the zero tolerance approach, and it seems to have worked in that they now have no graffiti. I think if we did that in the city of Yarra, there would be a reasonably large subsection of the community who would make it a political campaign to try and defeat the policy of zero tolerance.
It's changed a bit since there's been more monitoring systems put in place, but I guess because there were lots of laneways. It's quite aesthetically pretty, and it's grey, so neutral base.
The piece that happened on the City of Melbourne wall was kind of interesting because it was the first point where the council made an overt action to acknowledge that they were for what was happening. You know, they kept the wall and bubble wrapped it afterwards, so that's pretty positive, really. That hasn't really happened before, and the person that did it said that it made it a lot easier for him with his parents because they were like, oh, the council thinks it's okay. You must be doing, good stuff.
You get stuff like this happening. There's fibs, and also casino, I reckon's done stuff on that. And there's so much stimulus on the streets, and that's where I'd like to present work. Oh, look at that. And me being excited by looking at the corner of those bill posters there and knowing how cool it's going to be to rip them all off is one, and also wanting to, maybe just put that in as a starting point for a work in a gallery. That'd be unreal. It's like saying this art or this stuff on the walls I see all the time is my inspiration. It excites me to see it, and I'm interested in using it as a material to express myself and to use creatively, rather than make a painting or take a photograph of the space. Just take the element of it, which describes all of that, and then use that as a starting point. The first lot of posters I made is called Occupied Territory, about the Middle Eastern conflict and about media views from that time, and also to talk about occupying space, urban space. And then the last lot of work I made is called Public Property, which is about media images once again, and relates more closely to Diana, Princess Diana, and the way that we might own her as a public, or the media owns her.
It's just more an idea of trying to make people talk about ideas. There's no definite solution, there's no definite process whereby this is a start or a catalyst to try and achieve one thing. It's just setting off a chain of events and seeing how it happens. I made a whole lot of pictures of the Queen last year, which got me thinking about the royal family. And I was interested in Diana because of the sense of tragedy around Diana.
It's a loaded set of lines, like live fast, die young is always that rock and roll kind of idea, but also accentuating the idea of Diana having a really fast-paced life and having her stolen from the world and still pretty much the essence of her youth and exuberance. It's a matter of taste, really. So technically, yeah, you're damaging someone's property, assuming they want a nice flat coloured wall. But for any given person who's into culture and the idea of people expressing themselves, then it has a whole nother value. It's extremely valuable in terms of creating culture and offering opportunities, people, contexts and places in which to express themselves.
Well, I got into graffiti to start off with through like the 80s, the movies, breakdance and Beach Street. And over time, I've developed my graffiti skills, but being within that group of people, you find out that there's a lot of politics involved with graffiti, with who's done this, who's better than who, and all that crap just freaked me out. So I decided to explore different areas within urban art, and I stumbled on street art, which I've done since. With the stencils, I got them up to about 6 layers, so that was as far as I could push that. Put a few up in the street, but they are quite difficult to put up, so there's not a great deal of them around. The urban babies are just a general observation of the street art community around me. Like, it's a thought that all the street artists are generally younger aged people, therefore they're babies, so they become urban babies. The plate one is like a comment on war and how like war gobbles up everything on the plate. It's indiscriminate. I don't have any like predetermined spot that I want to hit. It's just a matter of taking whatever you do, stencils or paste ups or whatever, and going to a certain area and just going for a walk around. And if you find a spot, you put up something. If you don't find a spot that you like, then you keep walking. Well, I suppose tagging and street art is pretty much the same anyway, because you're putting up a name or a certain image which is related to one person over and over again. So it is like bombing a certain area, moving on, bombing somewhere else. So like a poster here or a stencil there, that like it livens up the place. You know, we're not all drones, so we like to, I don't know, look at something visually stimulating.
Alternate forms, like now that people are branching out past just graffiti and aerosol art or whatever you want to call it, it's becoming a lot more interesting. So using stickers and paste ups and even just things like chalk or crayons or whatever you want to use, so that it makes it a bit more accessible to people that might cringe at spray paint.
Basically, even if someone sees you doing graffiti, it's a lot different than seeing someone put a sticker up, you know. The common denominator will just see it as sheer vandalism if they, you know, see someone doing it during the day. So, yeah, definitely the speed equals stealth.
A lot of people have got sticker books, and these books are looking like really impressive masterpieces of books. It comes down to where you put your stickers and where you collect them, and I mean, generally it's like swapping, you know, it's like this tradition and this obsession with collecting and swapping.
There's a whole bunch of crew doing beautifully hand-drawn, you know, illustrated big bits of paper with images of characters and characters interacting. So they're making paste-ups, or they're making paste-ups which are drawn and stenciled, or they're making objects, you know, much more considered objects to put in a gallery.
Yeah, I think some people, of course, you know, they have their favourite medium or they like using or whatever, but I think you don't feel like, you know, using ink or markers every day. Sometimes you want to get out there with a bit of paint, or, you know, on the weekend you want to put a few paste-ups up. With paste-ups, obviously, you can sort of pre-produce them all first and then just go out and, you know, put heaps up. Or with other things, you know, if you're going out to do a character or whatever, you can sort of only do one or two, depends how much paint you've got.
I'm really interested in making sort of installations around the city, and this I feel is kind of really part of that kind of series of displacing and replacing certain parts of the city, creating these kind of little ruptures through which something unusual or something startling or something purely poetic might come through. It's about individuals making an intervention into a prescribed way of being in a certain place, such as the city. And it's about saying, you know, stop, there's more. Lots of urban art is about that. It's about creating a dialogue with your surrounding environment, with the people who live there, and with your neighbours, and with the people who are just passing. So the falling star was the shape of a leaf falling, and the reference of a leaf to a universe, and the reference of a person being placed within a universe. Maybe 2 months collecting leaves and collecting the messages. And then during that same period looking for a place to do it. So, and then being up there, which was an incredible adrenaline rush for some strange reason. And then releasing them, which took, you know, maybe 5 minutes. I think it was a success because the leaves all fell out and I wasn't arrested, and a few people looked up and saw it. and I think it looked pretty good, and also it was a lovely day.
We already have lots of international visitors coming that want to check it out. It's building a name and a reputation internationally as being a real leading edge place for a lot of public interventions.
Like from the beginning, you just want to make things beautiful. Destruction is also a beautiful thing. And it's a lot of fun. So sometimes you just go overboard and put up everywhere and just do it really messy, and you get some kind of reaction from it anyway, from people. And it might be a good reaction or a bad reaction, but you always get a reaction. I like doing spots that are hard to reach, or where you risk something, where you risk getting caught or whatever, because it's definitely an adrenaline rush, and it's a lot of fun just doing what you're not allowed to do. Same reason why retired people shoplift. They just want to feel young again. It's not that they can't afford it.
Yeah, my name is Tower, and here I have a sticker. I change all the letters and make the name road or water. Water, it's a German name, and it means words, and the sense is Tower Road words. Yeah, and that's what I do on the streets. I arrived on a Thursday, 8 o'clock here with a bus from Sydney, and then I went to a gallery and asked somebody, do you know some peoples from the street art scene or some exhibitions? And they said, yeah, go to Haha Studios. And I went there, and 4 hours later I met all the guys, and it was a great time here. And today I leave. Kind of typography, I like it. Yeah, that's cool. 100% water. It means words, actually. Some friends of mine, they gave me the name Tower. I'm very tall, and it's just a nickname, but then I thought, yeah, maybe why not? I can tag the name, or that's my artist name. And I start tagging, and then I have some trouble with the police in a subway, tag on the windows, and then I stopped, but I can't stopping, and I tried again, but then I go to the street art stuff, some tagging on stickers, then stencils, then make big posters. Yeah, people, if it is a busy night, maybe Saturday or Friday night, it's better. You go in little streets, make your stuff, and a lot of people on the street, they don't know who was it. Could everybody. Yeah, it's great here in Melbourne. A lot of street art or a lot of stencils, but I have to come back. It's good here, the people are so nice. And yeah, for art, it's a very cool place here.
Being able to do it breeds better artists because you get more practice. I mean, I live in Los Angeles. In New York, it's tough. In Los Angeles, I mean, everywhere is tough. You still got your renegade cats who do it, and they usually like the young dudes. You know what I mean? But as far as those old cats, I'm 34, man. I've been doing this since '81, and I haven't been really in practice for about 6 years. So just to be able to get up and do something, it's just dope as hell to me. You know what I mean? That shit used to be so amazing. Man, my friend got caught in that shit, man. Ladies and gentlemen, right now I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just doing stuff. Just in the name of painting, because I don't get to do it. So it's all good. It's a lot better, man, in America, for sure. Anywhere in America. I mean, as far as the freedom is concerned. Oh, shit, man. That's cool.
You guys playing tonight, yeah?
Yeah. I'm gonna be playing with ink and paint on my hands.
Yeah. Thank you, my man.
No problem. Thank you.
It's almost a bigger issue of what's fair game is to do with people going over each other's work and stuff as well. I think that fits into it. I think it's really interesting. It's kind of like you come to a wall and you make this sort of decision, if what I'm putting on this wall, is that going to add to what's there or make it better, or is it kind of going to destruct us?
Well, it's not nice to go over other people's stuff. I hope they don't go over my stuff. Well, I'm not happy. Like, there's a whole warehouse here, but they choose to go over my stuff, which isn't quite good. But what can you do? I suppose that's like the whole thing of the graph scene, the egos, whether they're trying to play me or whatever, but I'm not up for that shit, so good luck to them.
But then I think some of the most progressive people don't have respect as well. Like, I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, you know, whose thing it is or whether you should go over it. And I agree with that personally, but I think if you're about messing that up as well, then that's what you do. Like, I think there are a lot of people that are sort of essentially troublemakers right to the core, and they don't really have codes of practice, so.
I did a few paintings about vandalism just to like reclaim the term and just go, well, you know, if you want to say that I'm a vandal, fine, I'm a vandal. I'm quite happy to be a vandal. If you tell me I can't do something, that doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. You know, and I think vandalism can be really, really positive. Vandalism can highlight certain issues and yeah, be a really empowering thing. And I encourage people to vandal when it's like that.
A sort of general consensus, you know, not to vandalise religious places like churches and things like that, or you know, shop fronts and stuff like that, but that gets sort of forgotten a bit. It can be intrusive in the sense that people are used to walking past somewhere and having it a certain way, and then it being invaded and being changed so sort of drastically that they have to, you know, look at something different.
Rather than being a destructive, ugly mark, it's often just a cultural layer on top of what's already there. So I guess it's more about understanding the ethos behind it, where it evolves from, and the kind of people that are participating in it are essentially just very creative people that want to do big things creatively all over the place. And they don't necessarily want that to be legal. Like, that's, you know, it's a hard thing to understand.
About 2 years ago, it seems that the trucks, the white trucks especially, have become the graffiti boards I like the good arts, I like the good graffiti. There's some bad graffiti. Yeah, I can understand why they use the trucks because it's a great whiteboard to work on. The best graffiti I like mostly is the new stencil stuff. There's a Jimi Hendrix around, there's a polar bear. I haven't had the Jimi Hendrix on here yet, I wish I could get that. Then round here, you've got a few good tags, and then you've just got this that's absolutely meaningless, no tag, no artwork. So these guys need a lot more practice. Once their tag's on there, they sort of stop at this. But if you keep removing it, it just gives them a clear board for other work to go on there. I like to probably clear off some of the shittier stuff so I can get some better stuff put on there. It's very hard to get off.
The way it worked out, I was told off for having so many tags on it. You can see them just under the paint. I was forced to come and wash it one day, and in the morning I came out, somebody had done the 2 pieces on it. You know, a white canvas is a white canvas, and they're going to come and cover it. Now, the art isn't defacement, it's the tags that are defacement. The art is fantastic. Anybody that spends that much time and energy on doing something like that, good on it. But the taggers, they should find something else to do in life. I'm just one individual that they've decided to target.
We haven't signed this piece, and we don't really sign anything that we do because it's not about notoriety or fame or spreading any further marks of anything, really. The point of this is to make a comment and to make it on a scale that affects lots of people.
Like 7-Eleven, when they pay $10,000 for a sign that lights up at night, and you can go down there with a sort of, you know, a marker that you stole or whatever and put your name up on there, then effectively you're getting the same coverage. You know, you're letting the same amount of people sort of be aware of your logo or your brand, you know.
You know, you're searching for fame on the one hand, but you don't want it to come back to you personally. You're looking for fame for that name.
Getting up is just having your name in as many places as possible, and it's very varied as well. I mean, you talk about graffiti, it's very different, I suppose, to getting up with stickers, and there's a lot of people that are all round get up who are graffiti writers and stick up stickers and do stencils, and I think genuinely a person involved just does it because they just love doing it, and hence they get up, you know. Other people are fueled by seeing maybe one of their past arch rivals work everywhere, so they, you know, so there's all different reasons. You might have a few drinks and just feel like going for a walk, you know.
They're done in areas that, you know, are kind of appealing to that name, where that name sits nicely in society. Like my stuff, I'm more interested in having signatures in out-of-the-way places and places that people explore instead of on the, you know, in public so much, because I don't care too much about the whole doing a nicely designed signature in a full public place. It's more to me the appealing nature of someone coming across that name and saying that's a really nice style or beautiful piece of lettering, and it's in a space where they'd least expect it. You know, it might be some alleyway or down a tunnel or, you know, on a freight or whatever, somewhere that's not so accessible to society. It's kind of like people finding the marks that people have left behind. I did sort of my first work in about '83, that's like piecing and original tags and stuff, but prior to that, me and another writer, Kano, we pretty much, when we were kids, used to ride around on our bikes and do kind of like punk graffiti, and we had nicknames. They weren't called tags, we used to call them logos because they're these kind of like stylish signatures. So pretty much the whole time it was just a constant battle just to complete it, and being such a big and intricate piece, I was really conscious of not wasting time. You know, I didn't want to let my design suffer in any way by trying to speed up the process or cut corners. I wanted to execute a painting that reflected my style and what I do, and at the same time maintain a balance between Kano and myself's designs and styles, we wanted to keep it a very kind of unified effort, which it was. I didn't want to stop until we were satisfied, and that's pretty much how the whole thing went down. The characters that we did are relevant to both our interests in toy collecting, so the whole wall sort of signifies what we're all about, really. Writers that truly do go forward with their style, you see the personality in their work, you know it's by them just purely through their line or through the way they've executed it. So without that personality, it could pretty much be a generic thing that is almost like advertising. It's kind of like a secretive art movement that exists without the public knowing too much about it. The encryption side of it is the remanipulation of letters, taking them further, looking at them beyond a standard font. The design and the style and the intricacy of it encrypts the word in the process of building that design. So it's not necessarily always made to look technical to hide the name. It's just that in the process of designing and taking those letters further, it does become encrypted. Yeah, I kind of have always been very full on about, since I was a kid, about doing artwork, and always been told all my life you can't do that as a job, you can't survive like that. And I suppose I just was more into the whole idea of going, well, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, and I have. So it's kind of good that I've stuck to my guns, but if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be doing this, put it that way.
A lot of the younger people that come to it have come to it from their sole way of understanding being creative. They don't know the difference between choosing to make art in a gallery and then choosing to make art on the street. Their first thought is to make art for the street, and the second thought is to make art for a gallery. You know, when people get together, they criticise each other's work, tell them it's crap if it's just the same old stuff, and get excited by new ways that they see of other people approaching getting their stuff out there.
Certainly the aim of council's policy is to eradicate graffiti within Stonington. It is also to set up an education process where we will go into the schools and teach children about the fact that graffiti is an illegal activity, and that there is a whole lot of other issues that a young person could find themselves involved with, the police and courts and charges and so forth, prosecutions on their personal history. There is clearly an attempt by both property owner and the tagger to say, well, look, I have control of this building. It's a matter of attrition in some respects that in the case of Stonington, where we believe that if we continue to remove graffiti across the city, that either people will move elsewhere, which would not be our preference, but they will just give up on tagging and graffiti in general. It started in the 60s. We would expect at some stage it will finish.
You know, the more years I spend in local government, the more surprised I am about, all of the different opinions in different councils. But, it's wrong. Graffiti can't be eradicated. If another council has that view, then we'd welcome them inside and talk with us, but it ain't going to go.
We live in a climate politically that's meant to be quite free, and I think it's owning that. We're not under a regime that restricts us from doing these things, and I mean, comparatively, we don't get killed for writing on the street. I mean, we might get jailed, but we're allowed to do it, and so I think it's a matter of using that freedom as well. And it's a political act in itself, just making work that's outside of the norm or that's not prescribed.
Now, in a time when most people, particularly in this area, are feeling devastated about sort of world events and the way the world's being taken by leaders Bush and Howard, there's never been a time when we've more needed people's capacity to sort of put out messages, what we think about those guys. And you'll just see the most amazingly innovative bits of stencil art with, John Howard morphing into Satan and all this kind of thing now. Graffiti is well understood to be a way of getting that message out to large numbers of people and to let people know that there are if you like, subversives or an alternative view, an alternative worldview, and they're living right there in amongst you, in your community.
What interests me is particularly anti-war graffiti and how there hasn't been a huge amount of that. Then to do with the build-up to the Iraq War, there was a lot more of that, and how intelligent and how sophisticated some of that graffiti is.
You can't talk to them, you don't have the choice. And you write in the walls, out of the Iraq, don't do this, no capitalist, not do that, not the other, you know, right there. That's the free brains, that one.
I've always really liked Civil's work. I think he has a really cool way of doing work that's uniquely Australian, and I dig that.
I feel like there is a real lack of community-based public art on the streets, and I really love contributing to that, I suppose, and really having that feeling of that there's alternative ideas out there that people are thinking about and discussing it in their own private lives. I mean, I love putting up work in all different areas. I love to try and get it out of the kind of so-called ghettos of Melbourne, you know, and try and get it into sort of suburban kind of areas. I don't come from an artistic background at all. You know, I did science at university and I never did art till I was, you know, in my early 20s or something, and I kind of went, oh, you know, this is something I can do and anyone can do it. And I suppose that's where coming in from that self-publishing zine thing was I just started making really low runs of like, you know, 20 copies of a zine and giving them out to my friends, and that's how I kind of started getting into it until I built up my confidence. I think it's just blatantly obvious to me that the cultural value that graffiti brings to a place like Melbourne, you know. I think the amount of people I speak to that come to Melbourne to like check out the graffiti is just amazing. And like when I first moved here as well, you know, I was blown away by all the writing on the wall, you know, just how much discussion was taking place in this public sphere, you know, and I think that it's a vital tool to show where we're at the moment. Most of the images I make, I almost try to make them so they're not confronting, but where they are is confronting, like the positioning or the location of them being on the street or just in an unexpected place. Stencil I did of Don Bradman, for instance, you know, like I kind of wanted to do that everyone could kind of go, oh, that's Don Bradman, you know, the legendary cricket player, and that it's kind of, it's not confronting at all, but just that I've done it in a kind of confronting way on where it's positioned. I like that, and that it's sort of encouraging other people that maybe this is okay, that we should have more public art for everyone.
Good art always comes out of some social need or some social conflict or something that needs to be expressed from a community or ideas that need to be put out there. And at the moment in Melbourne especially, it's being redeveloped at a rapid rate. And so part of the revolt against that or the expression against that is to try and claim it while we can. It's a way of documenting a group of people that lived in that town at that time and not just rich business people.
I've always been a tomboy. I used to skateboard, I used to surf. I've always had a lot of male friends. For me, it's never been an issue. I do what I do. I don't think that anybody should be restricted by their sex in what they do. And I don't go out and do street art in a male-dominated scene to make a point of oh, but girls can do it. I just do it because it's what I love. If in turn that empowers other women to do something they're passionate about, then it's great. If street art inspires anybody to do something, to stand up and do something that they weren't necessarily, didn't feel confident about, then it's great. The riot cops are from, it's from a photo that a friend of mine took at Baxter Detention Centre. Lots of the stuff that I do has a really particularly strong message like this piece, but I do other things that are more about emotions and an emotional feeling. Yeah, I'm totally inspired just by my environment. I'm inspired by blank walls. If I see a really nice, beautiful wall with peeling paint in a dark alleyway, that's where I want to put my image. What's most important is what people themselves feel when they look at them, and not necessarily knowing particular things about me as a person and having that influence what they get out of what I do. I'm just into street art because it's just me putting my art where I want to put it, which is outside, so.
Billboards obviously are built in places where they're going to get heaps of exposure, and reclaiming that space or using that space which isn't used that much anymore is perfect, because you get to make interactions which a lot of people can see. You can reach a huge audience.
When we started to see stencils, it was really, really exciting, and it was a really happy thing, because it made me realise that there were this whole bunch of people that were walking around and existing in the city that were making announcements, whether they were small announcements and significant or insignificant, but they were taking it upon themselves to tamper with and to affect and to engage with the public space that we all share. And it made me really happy and excited and inspired to see these things. And that was why I made my first stencil, and eventually why we did the billboards. So much of the joy of doing this kind of thing comes from knowing that you're taking the physical space of the world into your own hands, and you're deciding that you don't have to be scared about whether or not you have the right to access something, because you take for granted that you can do whatever you like in your physical environment. I was absolutely amazed when I heard the first speech of John Howard's election campaign for 2004, and he made a note of saying that a vote for the Liberal government was tantamount to a vote on trust. I was absolutely amazed.
Well, basically we're pointing the finger directly at John Howard and John Howard's government and John Howard's lies.
People might criticise the use of billboards like this by saying that even though we're not trying to sell a product, we're trying to sell an ideology. But I think the crucial distinction is that we're actually not looking to make any money or any profit from this, other than to illustrate something that is of significance and important, and it's not being awarded the kind of attention that it deserves.
I think it's about taking a sense of a responsibility for who you are as a citizen in a society.
But I want to stuff it down their neck, honestly, and I'm glad that this billboard's in a place where people line up in traffic, because, the people are having advertising messages stuffed down their neck and they might not recognise it. But the bottom line is that I think that they are, because they're being forced to look at it. I think what we've recognised and why we've taken this down to only one word is because if you're going to make billboards in the public space that are trying to provide an alternative message to consumerism and to buying things, you have to use the same kind of language and time space and thought space as the advertisers do. So you have to be quick and snappy and get the message over and done with, so that the person driving past can understand it, because they're not places for dwelling. Graffito, as it was in ancient Rome, certainly is, I reckon, about people engaging the public space and leaving a mark and creating some joy for others who cross the way. But what's going on with this culture of graffiti as a tag at the moment, I reckon it's quite a different thing than that.
I like people that are pushing technique and using traditional sort of purist graffiti technique, but to create something really different. Like Furs is doing really interesting stuff in that way, I think, and creating a very strong pictorial image, but still using purist ways of doing it. And he's really confident about it, and it's beautiful at the same time.
I've lived in Melbourne for about 5 years. Before that, I grew up in a very small southern town. Spent most of my childhood living in the country. I have a crew of people that I go painting with pretty regular, you know, a few times a week, and it's just always the same dudes, and we go and do our thing, but, you know, we don't go under any name. So I don't know, in terms of naming it, it's not that important. In terms of doing it with a crew, going out with a whole bunch of people, yeah, it's definitely important. Speed and portability, you know, spray can, small, this big, that round, you know, shake it up for a few seconds and put it down, and it covers anything, paints on anything. I mean, that's why it's the strongest medium, that's why it's used the most. It's just the portability, put it in your bag, put it in your pocket, take it out, do your thing. You know, every time I go out, I have a different plan in mind. It's, in the end of the day, it's a battle you against other people around you, you know. It's you against the law, it's you against people who try to stop you from what you're doing. And, you know, although a lot of people get off on that, you know, it's not really a main concern for me. It's more something that's just a reality. I mean, I do a lot of things that annoy people. I just don't feel like just because you paid a lot of money for that bit of property that it's strictly yours. It's part of a larger society, and you build your ugly building there and you put your ugly shitty billboards on it. I find offence to that. I don't want to see, you know, exploitative images of people, and I don't want to see your transparent bullshit propaganda on the walls. I don't want to see that. But if I put something on there, you know, that doesn't fit with your aesthetic, then all of a sudden it's insulting. Where's the balance there, you know? It's about putting a conflicting or a contrasting opinion out there. The immediacy of the process is really important because you have an idea, you have a thought, you know, you have an emotion, and the best thing you can do is get it out right away before you lose the impetus or the motivation to actually go out and do it. It's just the best feeling, just going out there and just doing, you know, taking that idea and just putting it up out there. You know, people pigeonhole street art as this, you know, this movement by people who are just, you know, layabouts and, you know, hopeless cases and, you know, drug addicts or whatever, you know, you hear all kinds of shit. You know, it's just such a narrow-minded way of looking at something so big and influential, and, you know, why are people continuously interested in it, and why do people keep coming through the culture, you know, graffiti culture, like whatever they do, you know, street art, graffiti, whatever, you know. Why do people keep coming into it? So, you know, when you answer that question, when you think about that, I think you'll understand a lot more about what's going on.
F, lowercase e, uppercase R, and then the S.
Alright, where are we parking? This side?
No, other side, man. Want to do it, gotta do it properly. Goo all over my hand. No, it's too lit up.
What about just the other side of this? Is it like in that lane?
In that, check there's it a out. car park, but you know, it'll be pretty lit up.
Go down this way, chick.
Oh yeah, you go down this way. Maybe this whack shit. Crazy night.
Yeah. Time to go home.
Too many little close encounters. I drove past again, eh? Anyone looking?
3 out of 3, that's time to go home.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. What are you up to, boys? Not much. these ones, or? Oh no, we haven't put him here. Been a few around the corner, just coming home. So, it's on our way.
You realise if we catch her, it's a charge.
The bill posters? Serious?
Yeah, it's on a wall. They got those things that are in the town, those silver things you can throw on.
Which one's that?
Oh yeah, those free
Quick strip mall. Oh, the news. The news, like the round things. Yeah.
Yeah, if we catch you throwing on a wall.
Hey, how much is the fine?
Court appearance, mate.
Oh, okay, right.
Serious? Just for a poster?
Mate, if you haven't got the authority from the people who own it.
It's mostly security guards, but no, I've never actually been caught by the police, touch wood. Probably getting chucked in jail would be the only thing that would stop me doing street art.
I mean, I kind of got busted once, to do with an empty show, actually. Yeah, that was a bit of a sort of really interesting experience, and to realise, how much what we were doing really was illegal and hated by, authorities of such. Like the police, they really, really hated me and hated what we stood for and what we were doing, and that kind of really shook me up and realised, the sort of the violence of authority in a sense. Sometimes I've almost stood up for the police in a way and said they're people. I still do, but it was like, yeah, right, they really do hate me and want to stop what we're doing, And that was a very enlightening experience in a way. It made me hold back for a while, I think, because it was a little bit full on, yeah. But there's a lot of graffiti artists out there who don't do graffiti because they have been arrested and got in a lot of trouble, I reckon. And it's sort of frightening.
If you get caught, ha ha. Ha ha. The competition on the street is mainly all my mates. Sank, he's totally up everywhere. He's really good, and I really like his stuff. Wrecker, he's got some really fresh shit happening. It's really cool, and he's only been doing it for since the start of the year or something like that. And he's just totally everywhere, and his stuff's totally nuts.
Fresh from here to there.
I keep them as pets. The old chutney patrol. I got them locked up in cages, man. 6 levels. One day, man, we'll take over the whole city, man, Like the chud patrol. Like Cave Clan doesn't know what hit him, man. Wait, look, see his arms going down there? Yeah. Out of here, out of sides, these cords will go down here like this. Maybe do a curl and then go behind there, he's actually holding it out there. So I'm not going to do any bubbles around here, so it looks like we'll cut around this one, so he's floating there, but he'll be connected with those cords.
Sweet. Or you could do a cord actually going into the bubble, something like it's brain matter or whatever.
All right. I'll do, yeah, okay.
And you just do it there.
I'll do one going in, one going out. Yeah. Or like this, all the way back here, behind yours, and then out here like that. So this cord here is all just totally it doesn't make sense. It's not parallel. You know what I mean? That's what I want. I want it to be all parallel. So I'll come back with the little marker after and just cut it all back real nice.
Same sort of process as graffiti. You cut back and make the lines good.
Exactly.
Hands, man.
That's it, man.
It's a different process.
It's totally, man. I mean, we can't do things this small with a can we? So what do you use, man? You gotta use a marker,
What are you doing?
I told you I was drawing.
No, you fucking didn't, man.
I did.
I said, I'm going to draw on your spray can. You're not putting a heart there.
I'm putting something there then. Oh, I'm not putting a heart there then. Alright, cool. I'm glad you regret it. Who was those Australian dudes that climbed Mount Everfresh? Mawson or something? No, he did the Antarctica or something, wasn't he? But he's got the special edition Specco.
It's just a different way of doing it, I guess, connecting characters. We have pretty similar style, but it's still contrasting at the same time. But you don't really have an idea of how the characters might connect up, but they just somehow do, depending on the size and detail and stuff you put in. Yeah, balances out. Genie bottle, it's good. And you just chuck them in these ones, or like these when they're empty, because you can unscrew the top. It's the perfect place. It's exactly how you need it, isn't it? I like how you put the face in the middle. The ideal spot is maybe like a windowsill or something, because it's got high traffic, but being on the street as well, but also it's such a clean surface, so if it details stuff like this, it's really easy just to glide it on. Yeah, bricks, it's just a little bit harder to work out.
So what's this for? Nothing, man. Just for your pleasure. Do you like it? Hey, we should do some more.
Maybe.
A lot of the young artists that are working now are very excited by seeing other art that happens in their surroundings, in their part of the urban environment, and are interested in contributing to an ever-growing dialogue, which is stuff which grows and grows on the street and gathers over time, or perhaps gets buffed and destroyed and makes space for new things to happen.
Decided to the man, the manager, she liked it. She thought it was of Asian descent, according to her, right?
I think it's exciting. It's like a clean slate. It's like, a new page. By preserving it, it doesn't keep that freshness.
The people in the CBD who want graffiti removed obviously are owners of property. They would be the loudest group. The second loudest group would be people who are walking the streets, visitors, people who work here, and they don't want to be attacked, if you like, by graffiti that is illegally in place.
A lot of people are very conscious of the fact that you need to document what you do, and I think as a result of that it becomes made into a website or put on the net, and so that's globalising a type of movement, not just in Melbourne, and there are a lot of people in lots of parts of the world doing it, and you're aware of that.
I set up Stencil Revolution because at the time nothing really existed like that out there, where there was one centralised place that people could go to for information about stenciling and how to do it and what paint to use, and it was all sort of scattered around the place, but you could still see there was massive amounts of interest out there, so I kind of put everything together and just created a platform to make communication between the artists, to share work they've done and ideas and things like that a lot easier, basically. At the end of the day, most of the time all you've physically sort of got to show for whatever you've done is a photo. And these days with digital cameras and everything, that's the main thing people use, so it's becoming increasingly easier to be able to just throw the photos that you've taken of your stuff on the internet, and then other people can sort of tell you what they think about it. The most used feature of the website is probably the stencil gallery, I'd say, where it allows anyone from anywhere in the world for free to just jump on and sort of upload all their latest stencils. As you can see as well, there's different categories for on the street work, off the street, typography. A draw card for the galleries is, I think, the fact that you can link to it dynamically. So you've basically got your own little mini website with all your stencils, and then people can rate and leave comments on it. And usually they're fairly constructive. Probably the most sort of used battle thread at the moment here is Melbs versus Bris Vegas. Is it on like Donkey Kong? At the moment, Melbourne's in the lead with Bris Vegas about halfway behind. Basically here we've just got dudes from Melbourne posting and trying to show and diss the dudes from Brisbane about how big or wherever they put up their stuff. So you can just go through and see that was a Melbourne thing. So here's another Melbourne thing, showing Wrecker's scale. Some more Melbourne. And there's a response from some of the Brizzy boys. Yeah, it's basically just trying to better the whole scene or your environment about going bigger or more complicated or more colours or higher or whatever, you know, just trying to push it along a bit. Like something lame's never going to win a battle, you know, you've really got to start to step it up if you want to win that shit. And here you can see as well, like people from different countries trading stickers within each other. There's a whole bunch of ha-ha stickers here in this Brisbane thing. Here we've got a reply from some Melbourne guys, some more Wrecker stuff. Over 2 million hits for the month of June 2004. Got US is sort of #1 up here, then Australia, then the UK, and then Europe and Canada and South America after that, basically. Most of my work's just for a laugh, basically.
What a mess. This coating, see this coating on here?
Yeah.
We've just put that on and it's not finished. Well, he's fucked it up. Totally fucked.
With big events coming like the Commonwealth Games, it will be interesting to see whether the street art community responds to that in a very big way, a public way, or if they're sort of silenced by that. And I think that will be something that sort of monitors whether it's still going on. And it may change it in a big way too, which would be really cool if it made a big comment against the fact that the Commonwealth Games are here and that maybe a lot of the walls will be buffed and the city might be clean.
Well, that's an interesting issue. That seems to be what's driving some of the action out of the state government. We're just not quite sure yet where it's going. It's sort of felt that we should clean the city up for the Commonwealth Games in the same way that Sydney got the homeless people off the street, and in Beijing they're getting ready to no doubt line the streets with smiling people to wave at the international community. Possibly people will come to Melbourne for the Commonwealth Games and could go on an amazing tour of some of the most innovative stencil art that's out there to be seen. Who knows, maybe we'll even publish a guidebook.
It was a fad which hasn't gone away, so hence it's more than a fad, it's a subculture. You know, people who were around 10, 15 years ago would have said that it'll still be here and probably would never even imagine where it's at today.
It's been fairly saturated in the media and in the press, and you know, now the council's kind of onto it, and I think once that stuff becomes commented on too much, it dies in a way. That rebirth of it could be interesting because it's not going to go away. Like, I think it's just evolving into something new. The way that each person looks is becoming much more distinctive from others. A lot of people are becoming more illustrative or working more in print medium, or people are focusing on stickers and the fact that you can distribute your artwork sort of widely and quickly and as a type of disease, like that kind of idea. I think informing the public of creative living can be done in a lot of ways and a lot of smart ways as well, not just, vandalising.
The best thing would be for those people that are keen to get into street art is just go out there and do it. Go flat out.